Global uncertainty has hit crude oil prices. Crude oil globally has fallen to the lowest we've seen in the last 4 years. Is there more further downside for crude prices? We also have domestic news with the government increasing excise duty on petrol as well as diesel, but they've also gone ahead and hiked LPG cylinder prices by around 50 rupees per cylinder. To discuss all this and more, we're joined by Mr. Surana, the former CMD, HPCL, and also joined by Mr. Gaurav Moda, the partner and energy sector leader, EY, who joins us. Hi, gentlemen. Good morning, and thanks a lot for joining in. Well, Mr. Surana, let me come across to you first. The oil minister says that OMCs normally carry inventory for around 45 days or thereabouts. The question is, maybe by May, should we be bracing for a price cut in petrol as well as diesel?
Good morning to you and Mr. Gaurav and all of your viewers.
Morning.
So there are three aspects which we need to consider before we reach to this judgment that after the inventories are over, whether we should expect another price cut or something like that. If you remember the past discussion which we had and the past narration, there are under-recoveries on some products. There are over-recoveries and under-recoveries simultaneously happening at different points of time in some products. One may try to infer that there is a cross-subsidization of products. Probably that is right. But India is a heterogeneous country and there is no one-fit solution to that effect. The increase in the excise duty or increase in the LPG price, while it may look an antithesis on the first glance, but it looks perfectly logical because the volume share of the different products, let's say MS, HSD and LPG, is not the same among all the market players. There are some companies who are not in the LPG business, but they have the MS, HSD volumes. So we can't have a situation where there is somebody who is a beneficiary of the margins, higher margins on some products, and some companies only are bearing the under-recoveries on the LPG. So the way the government has thought of increasing the excise duty and not passing on to the consumer, it's a smart solution, in my opinion, which has got something for all the three stakeholders, that is the consumer, the companies, and the government. Now, it also solves one issue that because we are incidentally in the April month and any downward revision, the price would have led to inventory losses also. So that solves that problem also without allowing the companies to continue to retain the higher margins on these two products. Now, come May, whether it should be reduced, it will depend on two things. One thing is the base objective of covering the under-recoveries, which the minister has said that 41,338 crores, whether that has been reasonably reduced, number one. Second, how the oil prices and the product prices behave in the international market, because all said and done, the prices have not been aligned to the international markets over last few years. So these two components should decide, and the third part will be that the OPEC's move on the crude prices, because as we have seen, they have accelerated the rollback of the voluntary production cuts, which they have done earlier, and almost what the production should have come in July has come. But also then we should expect that the prices should be heading downwards.
You expect globally crude oil prices to head further south?
Yes, I would say that. Of course, it did touch 60.89, I think the lowest thing, and has come back to 63 point something today morning. But I think I don't expect it to go beyond 7. So the base, which was in the range of 75 to 80 earlier, I think it is shifted to now 65 to 70 or 60 to $70 in the near future. And that can be seen with the market structure of the derivative market, where in the Q2 and Q3 of 2025, we see a reasonably supplied market.
Okay, all right. Just to clarify, sir, you said that, it's perfectly logical what the government has done. That's hiking their excise duty as well as hiking the LPG prices as well. Do you expect another price increase on LPG? And do you expect them to deregulate it?
If you would have heard the minister's press conference, he did mention that from July 23 to February 25, I think there is a 63% increase in the international prices. So as of today, this 50 rupees increase is not covering the under-recoveries which are there as of today. So even now, there are continuing under recoveries. That 41,338 crore was the past under recoveries which has got accumulated. Now so this increase will cater to part of that under recoveries for the phase which we are going in. But still you will have some more under recoveries coming in. But it is a reasonable solution where the 2 rupees increase on MSHSD, where the margins are reasonable. That covers, I was told that 32,000 crore or so in the will mock up, and 4,000 to I think 6,000 will come from LPG. But we still have got some component of the LPG under recovery which is ongoing because it is not covering the full market price.
Okay. All right, Mr. Surana, coming back to you, I want to ask you about Delhi's EV policy as well and what that could spell for the industry. But let's get in Mr. Gaurav into the discussion. Hi, Gaurav. Thanks a lot for joining in. Well, a lot of moving parts. Give us your take first, based on what's going on in the globe and also the government action.
Sure. I mean, very simplistically, as Mr. Surana has also mentioned, the global crude prices, which were averaging $75 to $80 per barrel, are now in the lower 60 range. So there's a 20% drop on averages. And this is reflected in the Indian crude basket as well, as we buy from Globe. So 20% drop is good for India, given we import almost 80%. But what that also means is some of this is to be passed to the consumers who've been bearing 90 rupees, 100 rupees per liter of petrol and diesel. At the same point of time, if you look at the back end, which is the refineries, and majority of the refineries happens in India, there they will be under cost pressure. And therefore, cost optimization programs may get started to improve refinery margins as the crude prices come down. So it's a double-edged sword as far as the Indian oil sector is concerned. Good for the consumers, but the players need to see how they make money out of this.
Okay, all right. Mr. Surana, what do you make with regard to the New Delhi EV policy that they laid out? IGL is the one that gets most impacted because of the exposure they have to Delhi. Do you think they can go the distance and implement it?
The policy is still right now at the draft stage, so it needs an approval. And the Delhi narration of the pollution, I think, is slightly different than the whole of the country. So we cannot implement the similar solution all over India. But considering all the noises which we hear about the Delhi pollution and which comes every summer season, so targeting the two-wheelers and three-wheelers towards the EV, which is easier to do than the four-wheelers part, I think this may be one of the solution. But and because it is more towards the last-end connectivity of two-wheeler, three-wheelers. So this is a move in the right directions. Now, to what extent it gets implemented and how quickly it gets implemented, we need to see, because what is being said is that the new two-wheelers will not get registered about after 15th August 2026, which are not EV, and the three-wheelers beyond 15th August 2026. And there is a plan to, over a period, phase out the CNG run and petrol run and diesel run two-wheelers and three-wheelers.
Okay.
So let's see how what fashion it comes ultimately. And
Got it. Okay, all right, Mr. Surana, before we let you go, I wanted Gaurav's opinion as well. What do we see next? Another hike in excise duty from the government on petrol as well as diesel? Or do we brace for a cut? Because that will be of interest, not just to the shareholders, but also to the common man. Gaurav?
Yeah, I think before that, just a quick perspective on the EV view. If you look at the total transportation fuel in the country, almost 50% of that is diesel, 20% is petrol. Now you're looking at most of the EV impacting the 20%, where almost more than half of it is two-wheelers and less than half is four-wheelers. Effectively, all the conversation we're having on EV is on the 20% bracket, and within that on two-wheelers, which is 12% of the overall transportation fuel. 50% of transportation still sits on the trucks, and majority of that is the large trucks flying on highways. Unless we come up with a solution on the diesel side, which potentially may be hydrogen fuel cell in distant future, EVs will have a certain impact within the city, but not beyond a point.
Okay, all right. And you want to give me the answer to the other question that I asked you with regard to what do we expect, excise duty hike or a petrol price cut?
Difficult to comment on that, on government policy. But the government has shown in the last 8 to 10 years that they want to keep the market stable, and therefore sometimes excise cut to manage price hike versus excise increase to manage crude oil prices coming down is the balance that government needs to maintain. Overall, a 20% decrease in global prices should reflect somewhere to some extent. In fact, even if you look at the global forecasts for crude for the next 18 months, it's downwards. So somewhere it'll reflect. How much we'll have to see, how to best balance.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, for joining in and giving us your perspective. Wishing you all a good day ahead, and we look forward to chatting up with you all again on the show as the entire situation does evolve globally as well.